Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 316. And today I sit down with Adam Vandermay of Your Canna Chef. What happens when you take a love of food, a passion for culture, and a deep knowledge of cannabis, and you toss them all into one bowl? You get Bite Me, the show that helps you take control of your high life and helps cooks make great edibles at home. I am your host, Margaret, a certified gangier, a certified cannabis educator through TCI, and I believe your kitchen is the best dispensary you'll ever have. And together, we'll explore the stories, the signs, and the sheer joy of making safe, effective, and unforgettable edibles at home. So preheat your oven, friends, and get ready for an episode that you're going to love with Adam Vandermay. Now, Adam has been a longtime listener of Bite Me, and I'm thrilled that he's also an integral part of the Bite Me Cannabis Club. And today we cover all kinds of things in this conversation, from how Adam got started as a chef, what brought him to culinary cannabis, how you can make better edibles yourself, and the evolution of your Canna Chef over time. So with that, my friends, please enjoy this conversation with Adam Vandermay of Your Canna Chef. Everyone, I am thrilled to be joined today by Adam Vandermay of Your Canna Chef. And some of you may be familiar with Adam through the Bite Me Cannabis Club, but Adam, I am really thankful that you're joining me today. And why don't you introduce yourself to the listeners of Bite Me, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Well, first off, the pleasure is mine. This has been kind of in the works for a while now, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here. So I am one of the co-founders, and I've given myself the shiny title of executive chef at Your Canna Chef. It's great when you own the company; you can call yourself whatever you want. But we are a cannabis cuisine instructional and private dining company. So we do cooking classes, we do infusion classes. And I mean, our specialty is private dining with our guests. So yeah, we're just excited to be here.
Excellent. So we'll touch a little more on Your Canna Chef and what you're up to with that in a little bit. But before we do, maybe you can just tell us a bit about your cannabis journey, how it first began and how it's evolved over time.
Much like cannabis itself, it's evolved aggressively. I started, playing around in high school, just like everybody else, and to be honest, I got away from cannabis for a good part of my 20s and 30s. It just wasn't something that was part of my life, and then now it's back, obviously, with a bit of a vengeance, and I guess the evolution is that I went from just getting high to get high. To using the plant with intent, that now, since legalization and studies and all of that have really kind of grown that, what the plant can do and the different things that it can do for you. So yeah, I'd say the biggest evolution for me is intent, that I intentionally use the plant now.
Yeah, I really like that too, actually. And I think that happens with a lot of folks if they've been using cannabis for a while. And it's kind of the same with drinking. Like when you're a kid, you drink to get drunk.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you drink because you really like this single malt whiskey or this nice wine from a region that you enjoy. And it's very much the same with cannabis as well. Like you just become a lot more aware of the things that go into what you're consuming. And yeah, so that intention, I think, is really important. And, a sign of a.
If you're about to call me mature, I'll stop you.
I wasn't, but I'm thinking about myself too in some respects. But I don't know. I just feel like consuming cannabis with intention is just something that comes along with a lot of the appreciation of the plant as well.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm learning more about that too. So I'm glad you picked up on that and shared that with us. Now, what first inspired you to combine your culinary background with cannabis?
So I'm a bit of a unique individual. When I go on holiday, a lot of people will sit on the beach and and read a novel, whatever. I read cookbooks. It's just I always like to have something to glean ideas from, to whatever. And so my wife and I guess it was before we were married, but we were in Cuba, and so we kind of do a thing where I get her a book, she gets me a book, and and my screen just went away. There we go. And she got me the official High Times cookbook, and
Okay.
and I'd had edibles before. I'd made mystery stuff, and so reading through that, I'm just sitting there on the beach going, I can do this. Like, this is amazing. Like, once you put sort of the science behind it, then it gets really exciting. And so I mean, as a chef, I just looked at it and went, the things we can do are incredible. So yeah, we came back, and I just really dove into how to do this. And it's actually when I found you, because I was like, I'm an information junkie, so I just wanted everything that I could on it, and it's where I found Bite Me, and then I've obviously made myself somewhat of an expert in the field, and yeah, just made all kinds of mistakes along the way, but sometimes you need an afternoon on the couch.
Well, sometimes it's also those mistakes that you tend to remember more too, right? Like when you make a mistake, that's where the lessons are learned.
The mistakes they've created the entire foundation of kind of what we at Your Canna Chef believe in, and where I mean, we're more micro dosing than anything, and yeah, it's for me, it was more of an eye opening of the experience that we can do through Canna dining, and all of that and just create that really unique experience for guests.
Right. So I am curious, if you like to read cookbooks, is there a cookbook that you think every chef or every home cook should have on their shelf?
Every home chef, every home cook should have at least one Jamie Oliver cookbook.
Okay.
That, and I don't say that because I'm a fanboy, maybe a little bit, but his approach to cooking is very similar to mine, so I might be biased. Where it's flavor first, it's food to like intentional cooking, and I'm just a huge fan. It's simple, no nonsense cooking, and yeah, anything by Jamie Oliver.
Okay, that's good to know, because I've seen a lot of Jamie Oliver recipes online. I don't actually have any of his books though, so
Now we'll fix that.
I'll need to look out for some, because he's published quite a few.
Yeah, he has some great like 5-ingredient books where
Ooh, I would like that.
and for me, it creates a really cool base, right? So I can look at one of his recipes and dissect it and go, okay, so this is why that works and that works. Okay, so what can I do to make it mine? How can we play with that? And I usually end up with way more than 5 ingredients.
Right. Yeah. But it's a good place to start, because especially a lot of busy home cooks who are like trying to feed families and all that stuff on a weeknight when everyone's like going in 10 different directions.
Yeah.
You want those simple recipes to sort of, sustain you, I guess, because otherwise
Absolutely.
you just don't do the cooking if that's the case, if it's too complicated or time consuming. But speaking of too time consuming, I guess this isn't really related, but what's the most common mistake you see when people are cooking with cannabis at home?
Biggest mistake, probably actually cooking with cannabis.
Okay.
For me, any infusion is designed to be a finishing. So our sauces, our glazes, anything like that, where I can control absolutely everything, whether it's flavor or percentages. So actually cooking with infused oils, using that as your base, huge mistake, because you're guessing. You're
Right.
just guessing. And I mean, you and I have talked about, and I've heard you talk about on the podcast 100 times, that the mystery edible, it has no place in my life. I'm
Right.
not interested. If somebody cooks me something, and I mean, I get asked all the time, what's your favorite meal? And my favorite meal is the one that somebody else cooks for me
Right.
all the time.
Especially as a chef, right?
Yeah. So I love a meal that somebody else cooks for me. But if somebody else cooks with cannabis and hands it to me, and I say, all right, so like, how how aggressive am I looking at at the next few hours of my life? And they say, I don't know. I can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
and so yeah, biggest mistake, not knowing your numbers, and yeah, not being intentional with your infusions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess even when it comes to like baking, because you can have a pretty good idea of what you're baking with, I guess.
Yeah,
And then you're pre-portioning it into different, like cookies or brownie squares or whatever.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that has probably been one of the most interesting parts of the journey that has been Your Canna Chef. Like we hold cooking classes a couple times a week, and every single time, someone will say, so like, when are we making gummies? And I'm like, that's not what we do here. That said, I might do a gummy class because there's been a lot of requests for it.
You got to give people what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that still the majority, the big perception out there is it's brownies and cookies and gummies, and that's what we do. So I'm on a mission to change that.
Well, I'm glad, because there is a place for all the sweets and stuff, but you can also buy those in a dispensary too. So
yeah,
I mean, obviously it's way more cost effective to do it at home and do it yourself, and you know exactly what's going in it. But when you sort of expand to actual cooking with cannabis, it really opens up a whole lot of doors. And I do like what you're saying, like infusing the sauces and the like condiments and all those types of things, because it does also mean that entire meal that you've made can be shared with people who may have different tolerance levels, because not everyone's going to be the same.
I call it twinning. So
yeah,
I anything that I can serve infused, I had better be able to twin it and have it not infused. And so like when we're doing private dinings, like if I was doing any sauce, I'll make 3 different versions of it. I'll make one that has 0 THC. I'll make one that has 2.5 milligrams, and I'll make one that has 7.5 milligrams, and then I can go anywhere from there.
Right.
Yeah. So if somebody says, my comfort zone's 5, not a problem, we can do that. And so that, again, it simply goes back to the intention, just being really, really knowledgeable about what is in the food.
Yeah, it's super important too when you're serving it to other people. So
yeah. Hospitality starts with trust,
right?
And I need every single one of our guests to trust us.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely, because they are putting their faith in your hands that they're going to have an enjoyable experience. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I always say, I always refer back to the first soup that I ever made with cannabis, and I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I read High Times, read everything I could about infusing, and just went, I could do this. And that potato soup put me on the couch for a number of hours. It was I had one bowl, and I went back the next day and did the math and went, okay, that was about 90 milligrams. That could be aggressive.
Oh wow. For one serving, or for
one bowl of soup?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, that would lay a lot of people out.
Yeah. I apparently watched golf for a long time,
right?
But and I don't remember a single thing about the golf. So it was So those are stories I tell all the time, and now and so when we're talking to our guests, like I literally go to every guest and discuss where they're comfortable. What edible have you had that made you feel good? Where do you want to be? And then I'd also talk about my limits, where in a meal, I won't serve more than 25, probably 25 milligrams over a 5-course meal. And that's only to somebody who really wants it. Like that's the way I describe it, you don't go to a fine dining restaurant and do 7 shots of tequila before you eat or after,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The goal isn't to get messed up. The goal is to have an incredible experience, and so
Hmm.
we've had to slow a few expectations down on some customers that they're like, we're walking out of here just wrecked. Like, nah,
Right.
probably not. You're gonna feel
Yeah,
good.
and I can appreciate that too, because for like I could consume 25 milligrams, but then I'm not going to be feeling very social either at that point. I'm going to
Right?
be like, where's the remote? I'm
Yep.
just going to like veg on the couch and like watch some comedy. I'm not going to be thinking about being social with other guests that are at an event. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think set and setting is also sort of comes up with that as well because, some people, I mean, some people have really high tolerances and that's what it takes to get them there. But I do like that the more intentional, you're not trying to get people like wrecked. You're just
That's it. Like my goal isn't to get people there. My
yeah,
my goal is to open their eyes to just new experiences, new ideas that wow. And if they want to go home and make my 80 milligram bowl of soup, fill your boots. Like,
yeah,
I'll give you the recipe.
right.
But we try not to do that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. Now, do you have a go-to edible recipe that never fails to impress?
I I love this question. I absolutely love this question. I bounce around all over
Right.
the place.
Yeah.
But my go-to is absolutely a pesto because
Mm,
from that base we can do anything. So
right.
a good pesto where I know down to the tablespoon how many milligrams is in it. Then I can have fun. Then I can, if we want to add tomatoes, if we want to add whatever, we can grow from there. But yeah, the pesto always puts people's a little bit of smile on people's faces, whether we're using it a pasta or bruschetta or whatever. Yeah.
No, pesto's a great answer. I love infused pesto. I just love pesto, period. And we're recording this right now in August when there is like an incredible bounty of stuff at like your local farmers markets and whatnot. You can freeze pesto too, right?
You sure can.
Yeah. So for all of you folks listening out there, make some pesto,
Yeah,
freeze
and you
it.
can do the old ice cube tray trick
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then you've got little cubes of pesto ready to go.
Yeah. I'm planning on actually doing that soon because I have a bunch of basil on my deck I need to do something with it.
Doesn't
And I've been
have
making a lot
have
of pesto.
do you have a ton of basil flowers, like the actual flowers that grow up the stem?
I've been kind of picking the flowers off.
Have you?
Yes.
We used them a couple of weeks back because we have a bunch of basil in the garden as well. I am not a gardener.
Right.
I wish I were, but it's like I don't want to raise the cow. I want to cook the steak. So, but yeah, we had a bunch of really nice basil flowers, and we used it in as an edible garnish, and
Oh, nice.
people were blown away with it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, don't throw it all over the plant.
I should think about that. Somebody told me not that long ago that if you pick the flowers off when they come up, that it'll keep producing more basil.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
so
but
that's
then
why
you
I've been
can still
doing it.
use the flowers.
I should do that instead of tossing them over the railing of the deck.
although,
Yeah, I just said that.
although the bunnies might like that, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm feeding the local wildlife, so it's all good. Yeah. Now, can you tell me the story behind Your Canna Chef and how it started and how it's evolved?
it has. It's been a fun little ride. Your Canna Chef actually started out as the roadside gourmet.
Right.
Um, a buddy of mine in 2018, I think, he and I decided we were going to take a motorcycle trip. We were going to load up our bikes and we were going to drive. We called it the lap. We were going to do a lap of North and Central America. We were going to go down to the Panama Canal, sort of ride down the east coast of the United States, and then ride back up the west coast into Canada and ride completely across Canada. And so, and we're on an incredibly limited budget. And so we said, let's create a YouTube channel that is me cooking off the kitchen that I carry on my bike. And so, it's a couple little burners and a couple of pans. I did have cast iron because I'm a psycho. But and so it started there. Then COVID killed that trip. But we kept the roadside gourmet going, and to the point where we actually bought an ambulance and built that out so that it could be a teaching kitchen. And
Oh, wow.
did all kinds of fun stuff with the roadside gourmet, and I think it still exists somewhere in the YouTube ether. And so we started doing a bunch of cooking videos, and then I got introduced to the concept of cooking with cannabis, and so we kept the roadside gourmet brand for a little while, and then slowly transitioned over to Your Canna Chef. And I mean, the original plan of Your Canna Chef is not what it is today. The original plan, the goal was to be the largest database of cannabis infused recipes on the planet. That was our goal. And we started off and we were building things, and then we asked for submissions. We got a handful of those. So basically the pitch was, send me your grandmother's tomato sauce recipe and I'll show you how to infuse it and keep the integrity of that sauce where it was, right? So that was the concept. And then and then it just started evolving. We started getting asked to cook for people, and we started hosting events, and then we started, doing private dinings, and then people were asking us to teach them. And all of this while I was working another job, doing 50 hours a week at that. And then honestly, the tipping point was you. I don't want to, I mean, I do want to pump your tires, but, it was Bite Me Cannabis Club, because, we started doing the cooking videos for your platform, and the passion just kicked back in. And for me with cooking, it can come and go unless I'm doing it every day. And so the passion came back in, and 3 months ago, about that, I quit my job and said, we're going to do this full time. And I mean, the learning curve is massive. We've had 3 or 4 different product ideas. We had infused meal kits, which we're still working on. That's backburnered for a minute because of some laws that we need to juggle. But so we're advocating hard for a few changes there. But then the people just kept asking to learn and asking to learn. So yeah, over the last month and a half, we've been rocking out a bunch of really cool cooking classes in person. It's the only way I will do it, because you really get instead of me lecturing and saying, this is how you cook this, you can go online and figure out how to cook anything.
Mm-hmm.
But in person, we can really drive home, the care and responsibility of cooking with this plant, and the different ways that we can do it. And we've just hooked up with, I think I can mention it. Yeah. Okay. You know what? If I can't, let me know, and then after, my hand's been slapped before. Yeah. But we've just hooked up with a local cannabis company called Station House, and cool. They're a grower and a dispensary, and the general manager over there is a fantastic guy. He was actually just at one of our workshops. And they are doing a bunch of cutting edge research on culinary cannabis, and so we're hopefully working with them. So yeah, it literally started with a little YouTube channel that was me cooking off the back of a motorcycle, and now it's this just super, turning a hobby into a business. It's everybody's dream.
Right. Yeah, it is. Honestly, that's amazing. That's quite an evolution. And I met you around the time when you were bringing in submissions for these recipes from folks. And I know we spoke on the phone several times, and you have been a longtime listener of Bite Me, which I
I
think is
have been.
amazing.
I've
Yeah.
I could actually say that I've listened to I can say 90%. Like I started, this is how I
Yeah.
listen to podcasts. I start
Right.
at number one. I start at
Right.
the first one, and I know that made you cringe when I told you that I did that.
Yeah.
But any podcast, I start at number one. If number one can get me hooked, then
Right.
I'm in. Then I'm
Yeah.
in. And and I used to drive for a living, so I had hours and hours and hours and hours to listen to stuff. So
Right.
yeah, I felt like I knew you before we chatted, just
I remember you said
because of
something
the
to that
platform.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that because also like the in-person events, I think people are really looking for that now as well. And not the videos that you post in the Bite Me Canvas Club are incredible.
Thank you.
Mainly because it's not, again, just like making a brownie or whatever. Like I can do that. But you are infusing cannabis into actual meals. And that sort of, it's just more elevated culinary cannabis, I guess. But yeah,
And
those videos are
we try to
amazing.
keep it pretty simple. Like
Yeah.
you're not going to see me doing, you know, crazy Michelin star stuff. It's just it's why would I? I'm not trying to teach a bunch of chefs how to be chefs.
Right.
Um,
It's very approachable for sure.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so our goal is to make things that people can repeat. That go home
Right.
and make a pasta. Do a pasta. It's fun.
Yeah, because if you can't repeat it in your home kitchen, then you're probably not going to want to do it. Because I have seen
Exactly.
lots of recipes where you need like, real specialty ingredients and they have to go out and find those. And then just some pretty advanced techniques that I probably haven't played around with much. And then you look at your final outcome and you're like, well, that sucks. I mean, that probably doesn't happen to you as much, but
Yeah, how much did I just spend to
yeah,
decide that sucked?
yeah. Yeah, it's like those Pinterest fail memes that I see a lot, but yeah.
Hey, and we're all there. Like that's the thing. Like when people start cooking, and especially when people find out that I'm a chef, and Jeanette's friend. So Jeanette and I just got married last year, which was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And but when people find out that she's married to a chef, we don't get invited for dinner. Like
Oh, really?
and it's one of those things that because they're like, yeah, I don't know, he's a chef, I don't want. And again, my favorite meal is the one that somebody else cooks for me. But
Right. Yeah.
but if what we teach can be done at home, then I'm winning. Then I'm doing it right.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm glad to hear the in-person classes are going really well. I'm not surprised, but I'm glad to hear that they are.
They're a blast. So. They are so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, so you've been doing these cooking classes and you're pretty involved in culinary cannabis. Have you noticed any trends in what people are looking for when it comes to cannabis-infused food?
I think there's a couple of things. People are really looking for access to infusions.
Right. The infusions themselves.
Yeah. Because let's be honest, I can sit here and say, all right, so all you do is pop in, some can of butter or some oil or even some isolate and you can go. But if you don't know how to do that, or if it's not something that excites you, honestly, the infusion process is boring. Thank you for the 30-minute one though.
Yeah.
I started doing as soon as I listened to that episode, I started doing my own because I trust you and all, but I wanted to do my own research, and man, that's friggin' awesome. That is so awesome, and so yeah, people want access to oils and butters and sugars and whatever. We're not there. If somebody is interested, reach out. That's all I'm saying. Did I wink? I'm not sure if I winked. But also comfort foods. Like it's how do I infuse my spaghetti? How do I infuse my mashed potatoes? It is stuff that they can that they're already cooking, and so how do I make that work? That really and that excites me because it suggests that we're looking for candidates to become a pantry item. And, I treat everything that I cook with respect, whether it's basil or cannabis. But the idea that it could just become a regular staple in people's pantries, that excites me. That makes me really, really, really happy.
Yeah, and I think that also shows like a maturity perhaps in the cannabis consumer now that, and I mean, we're both in Canada, so we've enjoyed legalization for a little while, but people are looking beyond the brownie, to use that off-used phrase. But yeah, people are interested in things just past the brownie or the gummy. And yeah, you're showing people that it can be done quite easily. And
it's so simple. It really is. Again, once you have access to infusions you can trust. When we started doing infusions, I read everywhere on the internet, because if it's on the internet, it's true. And that you take an ounce of weed and you toss that in butter, and that's how you make an infusion. It's like an ounce. My God,
that's a
what
very
you're making
infusion.
Is crazy. And so we do. To a cup of fat, I do 3.5 grams. Right? What half a quarter is what I call it, but
a half quarter. You're from Ontario.
I know it's so an eighth. But yeah, that's and I go with low THC weed. Like I don't, again, the goal isn't to just be messed up all the time. It's to have the experience and have my body actually benefit from eating the food. Both from the cannabis and from the food. So
yeah, I totally agree with you on that. I think people are, I don't want to say microdosing per se, because microdosing for one person might mean nothing. Like somebody else might not feel it at all, but I just feel like being more mindful about those doses, because you're right. Like putting an ounce into even a couple of cups of butter can make a really strong infusion.
It's a lot of weed too.
It is a lot of weed. Yeah.
I don't know where everybody else's budget is, but and I'm a bit of a legacy guy, obviously with the business. That's all through the Ontario Cannabis Store, but yeah, I mean, personally, I'm a legacy guy, but an ounce of weed that's not cheap.
No, it's not. I mean, if you're growing it, there's a lot of growers that listen to this show, so maybe they have access to all that trim, because you can use trim in your infusions as well. But yeah, it does add up a lot.
Use the 3.5 grams and then smoke the rest.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do like to use my dry herb vaporizer while I'm waiting for the edibles to kick in. So.
Absolutely. Now, and that's an interesting one. At some of our dinings, we've had people show up and say, "Is it okay if we just go smoke a joint?" And I'm like, I'm never going to say no. But ideally don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ideally let the progression of the different cannabinoids that we're going to introduce throughout the meal be the experience. And, afterwards, sure, I'll smoke a bowl with you, but before, maybe not. But I mean, that's just for our experiences, not, while you're waiting for it to kick in, hit it, go nuts.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, because you're suggesting just let the experience be the experience and see what you notice about it. Because I think it's really interesting what you can notice as well when you go into something like that and you're sober, and then go from there.
And then we play with, how the CBD can play with that, and managing the physical experience is a big part of what we do, is making sure that we're counterbalancing, and that it's just a glow. The goal is to be a glow.
Right. Now, you've hosted a few of these by now. What has been the most memorable experience that you've had so far?
It happens every single time. Every time it is when people have that aha moment where where they, whether it's a cooking class or a dining or even just a consultation, where they have the aha moment of, oh, this is controllable. Oh, this guy's not just messing with us when he says, I can give you 2.5 milligrams. Or when he says, where's your number? It is that is, and especially with the home cooks that we're teaching, when they're able to go, oh wow, like this really is just butter with a kick, or and we can do so many fun things with it. Then I show, and so yeah, it's when people just, and it happens every time, and it's what keeps me excited. Like I love watching people. I don't, when I was doing non-infused, we got certainly a lot of fun feedback, and people loved our private dinings, and I was a private chef for a long time, but it and I loved it, but you don't get the wow, like just that this is infused dining, right? Like, and so that, yeah, absolutely, the most memorable experience happens every time, which is great. Keeps me excited.
That is great. Yeah, because it sounds like you have some more classes coming up, which we'll talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you see the role of edibles evolving in the wider cannabis culture and industry, and maybe in Canada in particular, just because we have the advantage of federal legalization?
How do I see it, or how do I want it? Because those are probably two different things.
Yeah, they are.
I see it evolving slowly. Working with Station House. I'm not going to give away any of their trade stuff, but I don't even know if I'm allowed to mention it. But they are working on a few things that they're hoping to bring to market in the next 6 to 8 months, that really could revolutionize the way we approach dining and infused food. And I'm really excited. It's a question now. They can do this. They've got the pockets. They have the background and the history and the knowledge, and the reputation. So I do think there's some really cool things, but I think it's going to be a slow process. But I remember when you had Jordan Wagman on,
Mm-hmm.
and you asked a similar question, and his answer without hesitation was that the future is in culinary. And to a degree, I do agree with him. I would actually like to see the industry, the overall cannabis industry, embrace the concept of culinary. But I also understand why restaurants are a long way off.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. A really long way off, because without stringent controls, like really, really stringent controls, it could be a very, very dangerous space where, and so I'm an advocate for the concept for culinary cannabis, but I know there's going to be a lot of cannabis chefs that get pissed off at this one. I don't think that we have, as a group, the discipline to just greenlight cannabis restaurants right now. I think that as a group, and I just mean the entire industry, we need some guardrails put on that, because and whether that is product that's supplied by others or what have you, that then we as chefs can tweak. There's just too many variables that can go sideways in a restaurant setting, and so I'd love to see us get there. So I agree with Jordan. I think the future is culinary, but I think it'll be a lot more home based than it will be commercial for a long time. I don't see cannabis restaurants being greenlit anytime soon.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. The one space I would like to see maybe a little more flexibility is like using cannabis beverages out,
Yes.
because I just feel as though that is something that I would prefer to consume, because I just find alcohol is problematic in so many ways. Like, I don't live in town. I live outside of town now. So I'm always driving into town, which means I
Yeah.
have to drive. I have to be so careful. And sometimes I don't want to drink
Yeah.
because I'm getting older, and those hangovers and the way it makes me feel is often not great after having like just one or two. And I'm like, what? But I can't go and like just out to a bar with a friend and be like, it's either drinking or it's water or pop or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I would love other options.
And I completely agree with you on that. That if bars could offer, the existing beverages or mocktails based off of them, or however they need to do it, I think that's entirely reasonable, right? Like if I go to a bar and have 5 pints, I probably shouldn't be driving. If I go to a bar and have 50 milligrams in beverages, I probably shouldn't be driving.
Yeah.
So like it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, offering those to adults is the choices that we can realistically make.
Yeah, and we make those choices all the time. Like, that's the world we live in, but we'll see. I think that could be maybe not as slow, but just as slow as getting to culinary cannabis. But I don't mind it being like more private, if you will.
I
If it was
gotta
more
admit,
accessible in some ways.
I gotta admit, I'm 50 years old. I have zero interest in opening another restaurant. I have none, like zero. And I've had so many people come up and go, "Oh, yeah, this would be fantastic. You should." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I've lived that life. I've done that. It's
not easy.
Oh, and don't get me wrong. I loved every second of it. But I'm also at a point in my life where, we've got grandkids. We just want to relax. We just, and going. So, yeah, we can stick to private dining because I love it. Like and I get that personal interaction where every experience is a chef's table, and so yeah, I don't know, I'm biased. I'm okay with it staying private.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's going to take a long time to get there anyway with the way the current legislation is, but one day we will be there, and who knows when. I mean, I never thought I'd see legalization in my lifetime either, and here we are. So.
Now if somebody wants a consult, right? If somebody's looking for a consultation on how to operate that, I'd be happy to do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Day to day, I'm out.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So if somebody listening wants to get better at cooking with cannabis, is there a single tip that you would offer? Like, I guess I'll leave that to you.
Yeah.
the one thing cooking with cannabis.
Block a lot of time off, because you are going to mess up and you are going to experience some cannabis highs that you didn't even know existed. So and embrace that, right? If you walk into it scared, that's going to be a terrible, terrible high. But just know that bowl of soup might have you staring at golf and not knowing what players' names are. So yeah, I mean, go in with intention. The more that you can learn, the more that other people can teach you. Follow that advice. If shameless plug, reach out to Your Canna Chef. We'd be happy to teach you how to do things. But yeah, best advice: do it intentionally. Don't guess. Guessing is for amateurs.
Yeah, and there's actually really no reason to guess anymore because everybody's talking about dosing and all this kind of thing. Yeah.
Go to Margaret's website. She's got a fantastic calculator. And we took ours down when we did the redesign of the website, and I need to figure out a way to get it back in. I need to reach out to my IT guy and get that done because I can't do it.
Yeah, I know that's admittedly not something I did on my own website either.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that back end coding and stuff is not my forte. No. Yeah. So block off lots of time. I do like that because if you are starting a new project in the kitchen as well, you need time to decarb, you need time to infuse, even if it is shorter than, conventionally thought. You need all the time to do all those things. So
Yeah.
you're better off never not rushing the process.
And it's like any amazing dish. It's an evolution.
Right.
When I'm creating a dish, especially for our fine dining clients, I work through it a dozen times before I'm happy with it. We made, I think I told you this story. We made a gluten-free puff pastry because one of our guests had celiac but really wanted this puff pastry dish we were doing. And I remade that probably 20 times because I just wasn't, and if you've ever made puff, which I don't know why anybody would, like, I don't make puff pastry.
Oh, okay.
You can buy puff pastry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for this one, you can't buy gluten-free puff pastry. So, I battled with that and battled with it. And I've been a chef for 30 friggin' years. So if you're making mistakes in the kitchen, it's okay.
Right.
Just take a breath, take your time, do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of recipes that have bested me more than once. So I can attest to that.
I am proud to say that I got the friggin' puff pastry right.
Yeah, because gluten-free baking, that's a whole different piece.
What do you do with xanthan? And I mean, it takes, making puff pastry, because you have to chill it. Everything has to be super cold. The butter has to be incredibly cold. I wasn't even infusing the puff pastry. This was just making puff pastry.
Right.
The number of times that dough balls went flying across my kitchen with moments of chef rage. Right. They're uncountable.
I will probably stick to buying my puff pastry because I don't need it to be gluten-free.
I recommend it. I absolutely recommend that.
Yeah. Now, speaking of buying tools, is there a kitchen tool or gadget that you can't live without? And this can be just like any kitchen gadget. I'm not necessarily specific to cannabis cooking, but
I love that question. I'm not a gadget guy, but there's couple of things in my kitchen that I couldn't live without. First one's my chef knife. I have had, there's no longer a branding on my chef knife. It's a Henkel, my favorite, and everybody has their favorite. That doesn't make me right. But I've had this thing for 30 years. It's traveled the world with me. And it has been a steady friend in my life. And so yeah, my chef knife, absolutely. And cast iron. I have an unhealthy obsession with cast iron, and some may say an unhealthy collection of it. But I love cooking in cast. Absolutely love cooking in cast. And so if there were two things, like if I was being stranded on a desert island, give me my chef knife and a good cast iron pan, and I'll figure it out.
I love those answers because, one, you don't really understand how good a knife is until you use some really shitty ones. And
most dangerous thing in the kitchen is a dull knife.
Yes. And people are like, why is that? But it slides instead of slicing, and then you're sliding into your flesh, and then you have blood everywhere, and it's not a fun experience. So, you don't need
we've all done it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I have. Not in a while. I actually have decent knives right now, but
nice.
It's funny. My dad has a set of knives because I moved in with my dad like a while ago, and they like the blade is almost worn off.
Yep.
And I remember when I moved in, I brought my knives. He's like, oh, these are pretty good. I'm like, yeah, that's because they're not 50 years old.
It cuts tomato flesh. It doesn't just crush the fruit. Cool.
Yes. And I don't know why he still uses those knives, but he just keeps everything. So there's that. And cast iron, I love that too. And for those listening, because it can get pretty pricey sometimes too, I think, but it's definitely something to look for in like thrift stores or garage sales.
I was going to say, you're talking to an incredibly cheap Dutch chef. So I have, again, an ungodly collection of cast iron, and I would say 90% of it was bought from estates.
Yeah.
in crap condition, and then I get to spend the time. And again, this is just my silly little personality. There's nothing like spending an afternoon bringing cast iron back to life, and because I've never met a cast pan that I can't fix. So and when people are using my cast, they're like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to wreck your cast. It's like you can't. Like,
Yeah,
you can't.
I know, because
You
you're
know?
right. Like it can look pretty awful, and then you can season it and fix it back up.
Yeah,
And
it's like you could
put it in
wreck
your
my
will.
yeah, you could
Yeah,
wreck my seasoning. You could leave it outside all winter. It'd be rusted as hell. And come springtime, give me a few hours with it, and a few hours that I love doing,
right.
and we'll get her fixed. So yeah, it shouldn't be intimidating.
Yeah, perfect. Now this one's a bit of a shameless plug in a way, but what excites you about being part of the Bite Me Cannabis community? Bite Me Cannabis Club.
The Cannabis Club has been awesome, and selfishly, you guys are my test kitchen. Like
Right.
100%. You're my test kitchen with live feedback. So I selfishly I love it because we can go and try a puff pastry wrapped brie with a maple pecan glaze and break it down to a simple process, and people love it. And so we can do stuff that I wouldn't necessarily just do for shits and giggles at home. So
Right.
yeah. So selfishly, yeah, my personal test kitchen. It's fantastic. But more than that, it's the people, right? Like I'm comfortable saying that I'm an expert at what I do. I am not an expert with cannabis, all facets considered.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I am not. I'm still learning. We're always learning. And
Mhm.
anybody who says that they've got it all figured out, they need to wake up and realize that there's more to figure out. And so the community itself is just this robust group of people that are non-judgmental, that have different skill sets and different ideas towards the plant, and to just sit and chat about it is fantastic. And I will get on the high table soon.
Yeah.
Very soon. It has been on Tuesdays are bad for me, but
Right.
that is something that I have full intention of jumping on and just sitting back. Like
Yeah.
like you guys know way more than I do. So I'll just sit back.
Collectively, I would agree with that, just
Yeah.
because collectively there's a ton of knowledge in that space. And I couldn't have said it better myself. So thank you for that. You're a valuable member of our community. And I really do like the vibe that's happening over there. It's like you said, it's a pretty welcoming space. So I'm
Yeah,
really grateful that
for
you're part of it.
anybody listening, just
Yeah.
go check it out. Go check
Yeah.
it out. It's awesome.
Now, you are also, when you're not busy running cooking classes and that kind of thing, you're building a tiny house. And I think that's like the coolest thing ever. So I would love to hear what inspired you to take on that project.
Her name is Jeanette, and last September 14th we married. But it's been a dream, and the goal is to retire, sort of. Like I'll never retire, but to slow life down. And so a big part of that was building the tiny house. And so we're fortunate to have sort of a family legacy piece of property up on Lake Simcoe. And there was a space. And so a couple of years ago, Jeanette and I bought this kit, and last year we laid the foundation for it, and this year we built it. And there's going to be a lot of finishing work that has to happen, but the plan is that next summer we'll be moving up there and living a really stripped down life, and that has me really excited because living in Nicaragua for as long as I did really gave me appreciation of how little it takes to be happy, and
Mm-hmm.
that quality over quantity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the tiny house it's been a fun project.
I can't wait to see photos of it when it's completely done. Like when all the
Me too.
finishing things are done and that kind of stuff. And I do like that you sort of mentioned this paring down, because I feel like we live in a place where the things you own end up owning you. And so the more stuff you have, the more stress there is around that ownership, because you have to look after these things. And yeah,
that's a life lesson. I think it just takes experience.
Yeah.
And when I first went down to Central America, it was, let's kick the tires on this, see if it'll work. And the plan was to be gone for 6 months. 3.5 years later, I had forgotten to leave. And but living, like, I mean, I took down a couple of bags in my chef roll. That was it. And decided to make a life cooking the freshest food I've ever seen. And it was fantastic, but had practically nothing. It sold everything that I owned back in Canada, and and I came back to decide to rebuild all that. So
Yeah.
they changed.
Yeah, but in a bit of a pared down way. So
that's right.
That. Yeah, it's still holding true to your values.
Yep.
Now, do you envision your tiny house connecting in some way to your culinary cannabis work?
Let's just say that the square footage of my outdoor kitchen is going to be larger than the footprint of the house. So yeah. the house, in order to stay legal, and I won't get into all of the things that we had to go through, but the whole house is 240 square feet. It's a full 2 stories, so 140 square feet upstairs and 100 square feet downstairs. The kitchen that we'll be building off the back of it, it'll be similar to the kitchen that I have here at the house. And anybody who wants to see that, you have to join Bite Me Cannabis Club. Hold you hostage. Yeah. But no, the kitchen's going to be a big part of that. Now, we don't plan on living there in the winter. Mm-hmm. So the plan is to have somebody, to have some affiliate partners working within Your Canna Chef to keep the momentum going in that, and then we'll be doing some virtual things. But yeah, the goal is to be in warm places during the cold months here, and then come back for the fun months.
That sounds like the perfect plan to escape when it's cold and dark and miserable here in Canada, and come back for like spring, fall.
Yeah. Have you ever looked outside in the dead of winter, like February 13th, where it's just miserable and blowing, and gone, why do I do this
every winter for the last 40 odd years? Yeah, I have. It's not even the cold. Sometimes it's dealing with the snow. Like, when you have to shovel it or just move it in order to leave your house. And it's just, yeah. Or you're depressed because it's dark at 5.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping not to miss that. So that's the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And you know what? Dreams only happen when you work towards them. So we've been working hard on this one.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty awesome plan. Now, what would surprise people about you, Adam?
That my ability to cook has both literally and figuratively saved my life. That having that skill, having that trade, has given me opportunity to dig myself into and out of holes. But when in 2015, my life took a turn I had not planned on, and went through a nasty divorce, and eventually just said, I don't need money anymore. So I just signed whatever the lawyers needed me to sign to be done with things. And then I went down to Nicaragua, where I had been before. I had a social network, but I had $600. That was it. I had $600 in a plane ticket, and I went down to Central America and decided to redefine myself. And so I started by cooking dinners for expats, and I don't mean private dining. I mean, I went home. I lived in a little shed in this Nicaraguan barrio, and it was fantastic. My rent was $150 a month. And it had this little kitchen off the side. And I called myself the 2-burner gourmet because all I had was 2 burners. And I would make stroganoff, I'd make whatever. And I would go and I would pre-portion them, and I would take them into the central park of the town that I lived in, and I'd sell them to expats. And that's how I made money. And I went from doing that, literally just existing, just surviving, to a few months later having the private chef business take off, where now I'm strapping, now I had money to buy a motorcycle, and now I was able to put a backpack full of the freshest food I've ever seen in my life and drive up into the jungle and do private caterings for tourists. And then I created just this subsistence for that kept me going for 3.5 years. And so, yeah, that I think it would surprise people that my ability to cook literally saved my life. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of, that I hit the hardest rock bottom. And my love of food and the appreciation of other people of my food, recreated me. It was fantastic.
I love that. And I think that's a really good place to end this conversation, except I would ask, where can people find you out in the world?
Directly, Adam at yourcannachef.com. Go to our website, yourcannachef.com.ca. Our socials, I think there's links, but we are this is where my online acumen is going to show itself. I believe we are YC Chef on Facebook.
You are, actually, I know that.
Okay. Yeah. And on Instagram, which I just received the login information for our Instagram last week, because we had somebody else running it. And so I now have that, which we are Your C Chef.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
And other than that, like we want to do a bunch of exclusive dinings, especially for the fall. I have some great ideas for menus and stuff. So, and I can travel. So if anybody in Ontario, I will stay within Ontario. If anybody in Ontario wants to reach out and just have a chat about how we can do some fun food, either do it through our website or get on Bite Me Cannabis Club. Have I flogged this enough, Margaret? Get on Bite Me Cannabis Club, and everybody can reach out and chat with us there too.
That's awesome. And I'll be sure to put all those links in the show notes so people can find them easily and find you, Adam. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine. I appreciate it.
Friends, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I will link to where to find Adam and to dinners that he's hosting in the show notes. And if you were listening to this and you thought, hey, you know what? I know somebody who would really enjoy this conversation as well. Whip out your phone right now and share it with them, because sharing is caring and it helps spreads the word of this show. With that, my friends, I'm your host, Margaret. And until next time, stay high.
I even made notes.
Perfect.
Which is not
well prepared.
That is not me. I made notes.
Yeah. So